right. Okay, chat. We're gonna do a stream test here. I've been really busy. I literally haven't had time to even test this out. So let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know if you can hear me. Close out this here. Yeah. Hello. What's up, everyone? Okay, you can hear me. Great. Okay, you can see my full camera. Excellent. Hey. Just bear with me here. This is the first time I've streamed in 2 years. So let me make sure we're good here. All right, you can see me, you can hear me. Excellent. Can you see my code? Let me know if you can see my code now. Changing the screen to the code. Let me know if you can see my code. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Cool. We're going to start in like 3 minutes. I just needed to do a stream test because I literally... I was almost going to cancel this because I'm so dang busy right now, but I couldn't. I couldn't cancel it. I just couldn't do it. So here we are. We're going to write some code. We're going to do some really cool things. Excellent. Welcome. Thank you, Khalid. Hey, Nick. Andre S. Welcome. Okay, we'll get started here in just a moment. Here. Welcome, everyone. And also, if you have questions, you can start writing them down. You can post them now. That way I get them in my mind. You can post them again later as well, too. So go ahead and any questions you want. We're going to do a lot of Q&A today. I have literally spent hundreds and hundreds of hours in UEFN, in verse, in code, hiring developers, training developers, building games, lots going on. So we're going to talk about a lot of things. One second. Okay. Yo, what am I working on? Yeah, so I won't be able to talk about the exact projects I'm working on because just the announcement hasn't been made yet, but some really big projects. We will talk about that today a little bit though. So yeah, this is going to be saved. Everything we talk about here is going to be saved and replayable. And we got some code. We'll do some AMAs and things like that. Ask anything about verse, things like that. So, yeah. So we're going to start here in just a moment, okay? And today's going to be a little bit theoretical with some hands-on stuff. And then later, when this video is done, I'll actually post the code for what we did today in the link of the channel. So really important stuff we're going to talk about today, something that people really struggle with. So almost there. Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up, Donnie? Good to see you. Malik, typical gamer. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what's up? TG. Awesome. How do I make $1 billion with UEFN? So yeah, you just got to make a spinning Dorito chip. They did Pringles last time, but I think the money's in Doritos, to be honest. So I'll give you that secret here. Okay, everyone, we're going to get started here. We're going to dive right into it. So what we're going to talk about today is multiplayer, and it's really important stuff. I know it's not going to be flashy stuff, but it's really important, especially for you people who want to get jobs doing this. I have lots of discussions with programmers, and they do not know how to do this with the verse programmers. They really struggle. And so let me share my screen here. Yeah, typical gamers got some solid maps out. Let me show my desktop. Okay, simple multiplayer life cycle. I guess I forgot to put my face on this one here. Let me, oh, boom. I'm a wizard. I'm a streaming wizard. I'm like the next typical gamer. Okay, so check this out. Simple multiplayer life cycle. So many people don't understand this, and you have to know how to do this. It is critical. And what do I mean? I mean, like being able to have custom characters following you and things like that. In fact, I'll just show you. I will show you here. So check this out. This is the code I'm going to show you today, all right? It's not that hard to do, actually. So you can have like pets following you, right? You know, but how do you get pets following you if there's like 20 players? What about 20 different pets? What about a player who wants to choose a new pet or a new creature or a new animal? Or what if they want to select their own? How do you spawn them? How do you manage them? What happens when the player leaves the game? What do you do with all of these pets here, okay? What do you do with these objects? And this goes for everything, whether it's data, statistics, rankings, leaderboards, whatever. You're going to do the same exact type of code, okay? So we got a little pet here. In fact, I got this on a random. I'll see if it'll let me if it'll show my other one. It's random, so it might not. But I even have this on a random where it can select a different pet for you. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. So and I'll show you that code as well too. I should not go to Vegas because the luck is not in my favor here. So, okay. Yo. Hey, everybody. Taking notes aggressively, yes. Train your minion tycoon. Yeah, there you go. That would be a good game with pets here. So check it out. Multiplayer life cycle. Screenshot this, write it down. Super important stuff. Okay. We're going to go into the code on this. So number 1, listen for spawn events. Do not spawn players from the sky. You've got to listen for events. Okay, when a spawner spawns a player, we need to listen to that no matter what. And even if they're in the game or new to the game, we will handle that, but you have to listen for spawn events. Super important. Step 1, listen for spawn events. And I'll show you what I do for this in just a little bit. Number 2, create a custom player. Okay, I'm not talking about a custom character. I'm talking about in your code. You don't just work with the player object, the built-in verse Fortnite player. You need to create custom players, and you usually need them to be unique. In some cases, we'll talk about that as well. But this is where you store your data, okay? I see way too many people having a giant code file, and then they're just doing all kinds of crazy things for all the different players in the game in one file, and it gets confusing, and there's bugs. No. We're gonna do some object-oriented programming. Super critical. Step 2, create custom player. All right? Step 3, store the custom player. Okay, store your custom players in a map and initialize them. You can access and update them at any time. This is the part that people really struggle with. This is where the bugs happen because they're like, okay, I've got my player. Oh, is it player number 3? If it's player number 3, let's give them this and let's take away this. And they have all these functions and crazy stuff going on. No. We're just gonna store it in our game manager. And then we update the players, okay? The players update themselves. You don't have a giant game manager class that's just doing 1,000 things. Okay, whenever your main managers just listens for events when someone is eliminated, when someone spawns. And then we just hand it off to the custom player, and the custom player does everything themselves in that class, in that code. It manages itself. You're gonna see that in just a minute, okay? Most people I have worked with don't do any of this stuff, so you're getting it raw and beautiful, like wonderful. Listen for player left server, okay? I was playing a top map the other day, and they had pets. This was like a month ago, not the other day. And whenever people left the server, the pets were still there, just floating in the air. Okay, you gotta manage your life cycle here. This stuff is not taught inside of the UEFN documentation. Okay, you have to piece it together yourself. But this is the life cycle. Okay, so when the player left the server, this is when you clean things up, okay, for that player, all right? So we're gonna start managing multiplayer, all right? And hey, everybody. Hey, Raphael. Hey, Richie Tunes, good to see you. Okay, so screenshot this. This will save your life, and I'm gonna show you how to do this. Trust me on this one, okay? And I'm keeping the code simple today. It can get as elegant as we need it to, all right? So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the code. I'm gonna show you how this works. We're not gonna write it from scratch, okay? Because this is more of a discussion and I want you to understand what's going on. I will provide the code later on. So I've got a UEFN project. Let me show you here. So I got a UEFN project, and then I've got my verse code that I've already written. I've written some code for this project. I will create a new one here just to show you how it works. And so this is what we're going to be working with today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just create a new file here and show you kind of the steps it takes to manage a multiplayer game. And you can see here in my game, there's not a whole lot going on, right? If I start the game, okay, I'm going to get a pet. But check this out. The code that you're about to see, if there were 50 players in the game, 50 players would get a pet. When they leave the server, they'd lose their pet, and everything would just magically work for that player. So you're going to get that code today, all right? Multiplayer management. So nothing going on here, but this code is awesome. So back to the code here. I have my screen a little bit big so you can see it here. I'm going to create a new file, and we're just going to call this, I'm just going to call this GM Manager. I already have a game manager, so I'm going to say GM Manager .verse, okay? Now would be a good time to insert ads. Oh, does anyone have any ads? Anyone want to pay me some money to insert some ads? I don't even know how to do that. Okay, this episode is brought to you by Epic Games. I'm gonna get sued now. Okay, so check it out. I'm going to just copy some stuff here. I may not need all of it, but actually I will need all of it because I just wrote this code. So, and I'm just gonna copy this so I don't have to rewrite it here. So this is gonna be called GM Manager, and then I'll just copy the on begin. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna implement the life cycle. We're gonna implement the life cycle so you can see how the multiplayer works. So remember, okay, step one is to listen for spawn events. Okay, listen for spawn events. So I actually have a function here called initialize spawners. What I do in most of my projects is I search for the spawners in code. The reason I do this is because if you've got 10 different custom classes, you've got rank managers, you've got pet managers, you do not want to have to be having @editables for all of your spawners, especially if you got 30 plus spawners. You do not want to be just finding all of those spawners, or rather dragging them in every single time. So in my classes, I find them with verse tags, okay? So I've got a tag here called spawner. So I'm going to find all the spawners in my game, and then I'm going to go ahead and, what is it yelling at me for? Oh, I already have a class tag named spawner right here, as you can see. So I could just comment that one out. So I've got a spawner class. Okay, this is tags. If you don't know how to work with tags, you can look it up. We're not going into that. But I search for them because here's the really cool thing. I've seen so many people take game managers and they're basically having a game manager hold a reference to a rank manager and holding a reference to the player and holding like 20 different references. And whenever the game manager listens for spawned events, it then sends stuff to all these different places. Guess what? You can have any class you want, any game manager, any type of manager, listen for spawners. It doesn't even just have to be in one place. You could have 10 different places listening for player spawned events, and you can just do whatever, because if a player is spawned at a spawn point, it's going to call all of them for you, not just one. Anyone who's implemented this, it's going to call these events for you. So that's why we find it instead of dragging it in as @editables, because it's a big, huge pain. So on spawned events, on player spawned, okay? And so what you also have to do, if you're doing it this way, is you have to build your verse code, and then on your players, what you're going to do is you're going to, where is it? Verse tag markup. Sorry, my screen's so large. You can add a tag. Oops. You add the tag markup, okay? And then you click tag, verse tag markup, and here, which you can barely see, it says spawner. I've added my tag here. And then, so then what I do is I just duplicate these spawners, and then the game will just find them. So I never ever again have to drag and drop my spawners onto my classes, okay? Now, if you make a new spawner and don't tag it, you may have one player that nothing's working for, and you can know that you forgot to tag your spawners. Okay, so we've tagged our spawners here, and hey, CJ Hannah, whoa, thank you very much for the, what is that, a super chat? 20 bucks, appreciate it. Okay, so on player spawned. Here we go. So here's my on player spawn. We're still managing life cycle number 1, right? Manage the spawner. So what are we doing on player spawned? Well, we're going to convert it to a player, and then we're going to initialize the player, which we don't have code for that yet either, okay? And so I'm going to now implement my initialize player, and we'll go over the code for that, okay? What's the difference between listening to spawns using player added event and spawner events for this purpose? Player added event. So players can join your server. That's an event, and we're going to talk about leaving the server in just a minute. The reason why I do not ever use the player join server or the player added event is because they haven't necessarily spawned yet. So you've got a floating player that's not even initialized and doesn't necessarily have a location or a Fortnite character. You got to be really careful with that. So always use spawners. Always, 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 always. You're going to have bugs if you don't. Okay? All right, so initialize player. So I have some code here for initializing a player. And I'm going to copy this and explain what this is doing. So we're still on life cycle number 1, kind of going into life cycle number 2. Okay, so we're listening for the spawned events, remember? And then the next step is creating a custom player class. So we're going to initialize a player. So anytime someone spawns, we're going to initialize. If they're already in the game, we may do nothing at all. We're going to check and say, okay, you're good to go. You just died because you suck, and here's your pet back or whatever. Or you lose a life or get an elimination. If you're new, though, we do all the initializing stuff, okay? And so anytime someone is spawned, whether they're eliminated or first time in the game, because they're going through the spawners, we can check for that, all right? So we're going to create a custom player here, okay? Really important stuff. Can I please zoom the code a little bit? I will try. It is already super huge on my screen. Okay. So custom player. This is my custom player class, all right? This is key. This is the one thing people do not do, all right? So if you're somebody who's got multiplayer bugs, you're trying to do something similar to this, you got to have a custom player. This is object-oriented programming 101, all right? Custom class, okay? So I went as bare bones as possible. In our game, you can get a pet that follows you. Also in our game here, which you don't see in the game, we can award an elimination to this player, and we can get their elimination count. You might want that because what if you have your own stat tracking system, right? Like, you know, when you're working with UEFN and you get the stupid, you know, leaderboard score thing, you can't really do anything with that data. But now we're storing those eliminations. So imagine if you get 20 eliminations, you know, you could like add sound effects to a player, or you could give them bonuses or perks or power-ups. You can do it all in code much easier and much quicker than using the UEFN event binding, and you're gonna have way less bugs here. So, hey Wolfpack, whoa, appreciate the 100 is that Canadian dollars? That's like more than US dollars. Go Canada. Thanks so much. So check it out here. Player. When we create, hey Khalid, thank you as well too. I really appreciate it. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy. Really appreciate it. So check this out. Player. When we create a custom player, this is what we store in that player, is the player. It's always good to have that as a reference. This object here, this player object, that's what I see people doing in Verse right now. They go to the game manager and they're literally managing players in that same file, like one at a time, and it's a mess, okay? It's a huge mess. Create a custom class. Mine's called custom player. I typically call mine game player, or if I'm building a specific game, I might give it the name of that player. Or sometimes you have different features in your game, like a player that manages one part of the game for maybe ranks, another player that manages a different part of the game, for, exploration or secrets. It's okay to have multiple custom players. So we pass in the player, and the reason why we're not initializing it here is because I want to force my game manager, force it to give me a player. And in this case here, we've got a pet, okay? So a creative prop asset. If you see the word asset, it means it has not been spawned yet, all right? This is our blueprint that's in our Unreal file system. And then we've got the pet prop. This is the thing that you actually spawn, the creative prop. And the reason why mine's private is because I don't need anybody else to have access to it except the custom player. All right, we're tracking the current eliminations, though we're not really showing them on the screen right now, okay? Now, we're gonna initialize the player. So over here in our game manager, we're initializing a player. So we're going over here to create custom player, all right? And it's okay if you don't understand what's going on here. You can watch this video again. This is a theoretical, dive into the flow of the life cycle, okay? So I'm not going into every line of code. So init. So we're gonna convert the player to an agent, and then we're gonna convert the agent to a Fortnite character. By the way, I have a very long utility file that does all kinds of nifty things like converts players, formats things. As you're building your code, you'll do that too, but I wrote it out here so you could see it. We need to get the Fortnite character because that's where we get their position and rotation and things like that, okay? So what we're doing here is we're initializing the custom player, and then we're spawning the prop, okay? We are spawning the prop at player location, plus some offset, okay? Spawning prop at player location plus offset. And in my case here, we've got this pet asset, creative prop asset. All right, so if I go back to my UEFN, you see this blueprint here, this pet ball. You can't see it actually, cam right. Oh, did I mess this up? Video capture. Oh, I did mess it up. Hopefully that works. Whoa. All right. I wonder if that worked. We'll see. Okay, cam left, cam right. Excellent. So this little blueprint here, okay, it's a blueprint prop. I went right-clicked and I went to blueprint class and I did building prop, okay? So what I do is I have them dragged here in my game manager, which I'll show you in a second. So it's just an asset. If it's here, if it's here in your folder down here, it's an asset. All right. Okay. And yeah, so a player is an agent, but an agent is not necessarily a player. Okay, that's the rule. All right. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Spawning prop at player location plus offset. I wanted the pet a little bit to the right, so as you can see here, you can't see here, view word wrap, 120 offset, okay? 120 offset. And then what we're doing is we are spawning, okay, we're spawning the prop. Let me move my camera again. Getting used to all this streaming stuff. Hey, David, thanks, appreciate it, and thanks for joining. Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Spawn prop, pet asset. Okay, so yeah, we're just spawning it here, and here's the key. We are storing the prop, the blueprint prop, we're storing it right here. That's the actual little pet that you're following. If you are spawning things and you need your player always to have that, whether it's a VFX, okay? By the way, you can put VFX in blueprints, so here's a secret. If you want fire to be around your player all the time, create a blueprint prop, put a fire VFX in it, and then spawn it where the player is, and your player will run around with fire. Pretty cool, right? You could do that right here, fire. Now you can upgrade your player, right? If I've got 15 kills, I'm on fire, and you spawn the prop, and the prop follows the player. What? Crazy, right? So you have to store it. because later we have to dispose of it, all right? But you have to store it, especially if we want to move it. So then what we're doing is I'm using the spawn keyword because now I'm going to move the pet in a loop. And so I'm just throwing it off on an async thread here, basically, okay? So pretty cool stuff here. Someone's mentioning, make sure that you check if the Fort character is active. So yeah, that is a check that you can do and should do at various places. So yes. Awesome. So we're spawning it. And then I say move the pet and I pass in the Fortnite character. And and the reason why I'm checking if the Fort character is valid is because right here, I'm making sure that the pet is valid, because if the pet's not here, then, you know, my character left the game or whatever. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, is the pet valid? So if a player, or if a pet or a prop is disposed, or if a player leaves the game, there could be like just an empty object just floating there. We want to make sure that our pet's valid, because if it's not, we don't want to move it. So that's all that's happening here. And then I know I've got some code duplication, same up here, but all I'm doing is I'm making sure that the pet stays the same position and size, or rather the same size as it always is, and then just following the player. So every half second, I'm going through and I'm updating, I'm moving the pet. That's just my personal choice on this. I've noticed that the lowest you can really go right now with move to is 0.3. Anything below 0.3, it starts getting jittery or weird. It doesn't really work. That's been my experience. So if I want things to move as quickly as possible, I do 0.3. If it's like a drone following me like my pet, I really don't mind the 0.5. So this is just going to keep moving continuously over and over and over. Now, in our custom player, when the player leaves the game, we want to dispose of this pet. We want to get rid of it from the game. And I'll show you elsewhere how we're also disposing of things, okay? So, cool. Yeah, EP8 script, you don't need to cast player to agent. Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't actually adopted it in my code because my version, the way I do it, just came from the UEFN documentation. But I do need to adopt that so I can write less code. Okay, so here's our custom player. Now, initializing a player in the game. Back in our game manager, right? When a player spawns, we initialize the player. So what do we want to do when we are initializing a player? Well, so what we're doing here is I want to grab a random pet. I've got 2 pets here, okay? I want to grab a random one. So if I go to my other file here, you see this @editable pet assets. So I'm going to put this right here, my pet assets, and then I'm going to grab a random pet from that array between 0 and the length -1. So you know, slot 0 or slot 1, okay? And then, so what we're doing is we're grabbing the pet asset. Remember, not spawned yet, just the asset, agent, Fortnite character, and then here's where things get interesting, okay? Custom players. So I have created a map. This is the key. This is the key to everything. Some of you are already doing this with players, but this is what you're gonna do with custom players, okay? So player, custom player equals map. So what we're doing is the key is the player. That's a unique identifier. It's inside the internal Fortnite stuff. They have an identifier on it that makes it unique. And then we store the custom player. I could also make my custom player unique, as you can see right here. And I technically could just store custom player and custom player. It would store the unique identifier here and my object here. So that's another way to do it. But this is simple. So custom players, that's the name of my map. This is where we store the players coming in and out for our game. But if I had different features of my game, each of those devices, those managers. So I have a game, for instance, that I've been building that has a round manager, and it has a safe zone manager, and it has a event manager. And each one of those has their own custom player that manages the players for that category. But also in that game, I have a parent game manager that manages all the other managers. And that kind of has its own version of players. It's okay for your different devices to have custom players. Completely fine. Okay, so we've got our custom players now. So what we're doing here is if the player already exists, don't do nothing, right? I don't need to do anything because they just spawned, and that's just my game. My game doesn't have any need to do anything. How do we know if they're existing? We're grabbing the player that's being initiated. So when a player just got spawned, we pass in the player to initialize player, and then we're grabbing it from the map. We're saying, hey, is this player in here already? If it is, if this is true, yeah, just don't do anything. That's what these empty curly braces mean. Don't do anything. We don't care. However, if this player is not in our custom players map, we need to initialize them. Initialize them meaning whatever we need to do for our character in this game and in this feature. Yes, I will be uploading this. All this code will come after here on the video. I'll put it in the description, okay? And someone's asking a question about your RPG spells video. Is it possible to do the same stats but with a vehicle spawner? So you can, spawn some vehicles and things around certain things around a player, but once you start working with like those core devices, you start hitting limitations. But you can surely do events based on player data. If you get 15 kills, you get a vehicle or whatever. So you can do things like that for sure. So if it's a new character though, what do we want to do? Someone's just spawning for the first time. Well, in our game, I want to know whenever there's an eliminated event. So whenever this player eliminates somebody else or is eliminated, I want to listen for that. And then this is where it gets interesting because we're creating our new custom player. We pass in the player itself, which just came from the spawner, right? And we're passing in the pet asset, the pet that we want to spawn, okay? Your parent manager is giving that here to the custom player. Now, you might be asking, well, I don't need to do that, Mark. Why not just have the custom player, have the pet asset it needs? And the reason for that is because this is a custom player, and we don't want to have @editables in here. And that's really important to know. You can, but you shouldn't. Your custom players should not have any @editables in them. Anything that's @editable should come from somewhere up above. This is going to allow you to create lots of players quickly without any problems. So we want somebody else to give us the assets we need, okay? So that's how it works on here. So you could even have your own device manager that's an asset manager class that just does all the @editables and passes them where they need to go. It's just the way it works. And then I created an init function that I'm calling here. And in my init function, this is where I'm actually spawning the asset, the pet. I'm spawning it and then I'm moving it. Remember, because I did not initialize these here, okay, I didn't initialize them, I am forced to pass these in. If I don't pass these in, like so, it's going to yell at me. I have to pass in an asset and a player. Therefore, I need this initialize function to take that stuff and actually use it. In verse programming, there is constructors, but constructors can't call code. Usually in other programming languages like C#, my constructor would initialize things and then call an initialize function or something. But in verse, you can't do that. So I have to remember to make sure to initialize my custom player. Okay, it's not going to do it by itself. Then lastly, we are just setting that new custom player into our list of players. That's it. We're just storing it. Okay, so all right, what did you say? So could you use a device manager? Easy says, can you use a device manager to create a game manager where only a specific person can get the same rules and type before starting the game? The answer to that is maybe. It depends on the rules and what you want to do. Like you can assign classes, like a Fortnite class selector, class designer. You can assign those based on some condition to certain players. Before a game starts, so that's where I'm like, the wording's a little off, because when a game starts, your devices run. Okay, your devices on begin functions run when a game starts. Like when UEFN Fortnite game starts or a round starts, okay? So you can't do anything before that. However, you can make fake game starts. So you can have all your devices run and you can like freeze the players, you can lock them somewhere, and then you can do all your initialization, and then you can make your own game that way. Build your own fake round systems, whatever. They're not fake, they're your own. Just you're circumventing the Fortnite limitation. So, and I do that frequently, okay? All right. So we got our custom players, we're storing them. So let's look at our life cycle. We're storing the custom player, great. Excellent. And then, so update custom players. This is where we start doing things specifically for the players. So you'll notice here that I am right here. Okay, so on player eliminated, I need to implement that function, okay? So I'm gonna grab this function here. It's called a method technically. On player eliminated. So anytime a new player comes into the game, in this manager, I want to listen for the player being eliminated. So killer is the eliminating character. Sometimes eliminating versus eliminated gets like confused and I make typos. So I use verbose words like the killer so I don't accidentally type the wrong thing. So I grab the killer, I grab its agent, grab its player, and then what I do here is I'm grabbing the custom player. Okay, so I want to know. Okay, see this is the killer here, right? So I want to grab the custom player of the killer. This is the part that people get really confused on when they're making multiplayer games. When you have events happen, you grab the custom player for that agent and then you do your stuff. So in our case here, this is the killer. And I'm saying, hey, let's find the killer in our custom players. And the reason why we know who it is because we're storing the player key here already. Grab the killer. All right. And then in my case here, I'm just making sure that they didn't kill themselves because that would ruin the logic for my particular game. So if they did not kill themselves, let's award them an elimination. Okay. Let's award them an elimination. So on player eliminated, I'm listening for it here when I'm initializing a new person. Now, remember, you could have 20 different custom managers, and you can also listen for eliminated events on those. And it's not going to mess up any of your code here. I've talked with people, and they're like, "Oh, I've got multiple managers, but I only want to listen for the eliminated event once because what if it double fires, or what if it doesn't get called elsewhere?" That's not how it works. Any place you implement this is going to be called. So if you have 20 places that implement eliminated event.subscribe, they're all going to get called when the event happens. And then you can do whatever you want for those different managers. You do not have to have some giant manager that's sending down data to 20 different places and then you start getting bugs and why is my data not working? Don't do it that way. Do it this way, okay? Award elimination. And so if we go here to our custom player, here it is, award elimination. This thing alone right here, some of you know how to do this because you're smart, but I have had top people who have like had millions and millions and millions of plays in their UEFN maps come to me asking how to track eliminations, and that's it. It is literally this. It is literally like a few lines of code, but it was a very stressful thing because it's a lot harder in 1.0. So this is how you track your custom data for everything, okay? For everything. All right. So we've got our custom player. We're awarding eliminations. Lastly is the life cycle cleanup. Listen for player left server, okay? And so if I go back over to my GM manager, okay, you're going to see that we are listening somewhere, nowhere. My on begin's empty, that's why. So if we go to on begin, all right, I can start initializing some things here. So on player left server. Okay, this is the last major mistake I see people make is they're not aware of this, okay? When a player leaves the game, you got to clean up their stuff, all right? I've seen people have issues where someone's user interface like they're using like one user interface for multiple players, and now they like can't get on the screen. I've even seen it where a player goes back to the Fortnite dashboard and like the UI is actually still there, like above like the main Fortnite dashboard, like where you can pick your games, because a bug. But my point is they did not clean up their players when the players left, and so you've got to do those things, okay? And so on player left server is a function I need to create, and so this is probably the most complicated of them all, but it's important, and it's only complicated because Verse doesn't have a good way to do this. So what I'm doing is the player that's leaving, I try and grab them from my custom players list. Are they there? They should be there for sure, because if we did our job correctly. And so this is where I'm going to dispose stuff, okay? Yeah, you shouldn't need to clean up the UI, I know, but yeah, I've seen that bug multiple times. So where the UI's like on the Fortnite dashboard. So custom player.dispose, that is my code I wrote to get rid of my pet. If you've got VFX, if you've got like custom props related to your particular character or player, anything you need to do, you got to clean it up, right? Just because a player left the server does not mean that the thing you spawned earlier also left the server, okay? Because it's in memory in your game. This prop here that you spawned is in memory in the game. And so you got to clean it up, all right? And so if you're somebody who wants to make a game, like let's say like a Minecraft game, or a game where you're building things like in the actual game, like spawning stuff with a remote or whatever, learning how to dispose of your props and manage them is going to be very important. You got to keep track of all the props you spawn for that player, and how to dispose of them or how to respawn them. So this is going to be really important for you if you want to create custom things in your game that actually props for a player. You got to know how to clean them up, okay? All right. So we dispose of it. And then the last part here, this is just the way that we can update our map. So this custom players here, if a player leaves the game, all right, this player may not be active anymore, but our code is. We created a class that is living in memory. There's no reason for it to drop that class just because the player left, because it's still being held by this custom player. So if you do not clean up your list of players, if you have custom players, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it'll consume more memory in your game. And no one's going to tell you this. It's not in the documentation anywhere, but you got to do it. You got to get rid of those players out of your map, because the moment that you create a custom player here in init, wherever we did that, right here, the moment we did this is a moment a new object's living in memory. And it doesn't matter if the player's gone or not, okay? It's still going to be there. So the last thing we need to do when a player leaves the server is we're going to basically go through our existing list of players, find the one that, or rather, we're going to go through all the other players that aren't leaving. We're going to put them in a new list and then store that new list back on the old list. We're replacing it. So we're removing, in essence, one player and putting the rest back, okay? This is not my favorite thing about Verse, and I'm sure that they will improve this over time. But basically, I can't remove an element from my map. I have to create a new map, put all the players I need in there, and then send it back. Whatever, it's just how we have to deal with it right now. So how do you get all this knowledge that's not in the documentation? I've been programming for like 16 years. I built games. I worked on Call of Duty Ghosts. I built mobile games, mobile apps. And I'm constantly building. I'm constantly building right now. In fact, I've got 3 projects I'm working on, multiple team members. We are in the code all the time, solving crazy problems every day. So blood, sweat, and tears is right. So that's it. We just created our own custom game management and custom player classes. And so again, I might have a round manager, I might have a elimination manager, I might have a rank manager, and I would probably create custom players for all of those. And then if I needed to listen to spawners, I just go fetch them and listen for them. And then you just create your custom classes with your custom props. And so, oh yeah, and the new week maps came out. EP8 script just mentioned. I'm eager to play with those, and that might help make this a little bit easier too. So back to our game. I know we wrote a lot of code, or pretended to write a lot of code, but I feel confident that if I play this game with 20 players, that each player is going to get a pet. Unfortunately, the random pets aren't working right now, which is kind of funny. I'll change it so you can see the other one real quick, just for fun. So I'm going to comment this guy back out, put him back over here, and there you are. Save it, and save it. And I'm going to go to verse, build verse code, hopefully no errors, push verse changes. And okay, that's working there. So then the last thing I want to do is just, I want to, which one is my alien BP? It's index 0. So instead of doing the random thing here, for my selecting my pet, instead of using rand, I'm just going to say 0, just for now, just for fun. We're going to get the first, no, sorry, 1, index 1, my bad. Right, it was index 1, right? No, it's index 0. What are you, I'm going crazy. Okay, programming life. All right, so build verse code, push verse changes. That's right, you're watching me code live here on TV, not stressful at all. And hopefully that pushed up. Start game. How are you so intelligent? Do you eat apples? Actually, I had an apple yesterday, a pink lady. It was pinkishly delicious. What the heck? Okay, I'm tripping out here. Okay, I am going to, that is crazy. Index 0. Well, I wanted you to see my cute little, my alien blueprint here, but, I don't know what's, oh, I did it in the wrong one. That's why. That's why. Where are you? Where are you? Right here. 0. Boom. Okay. Verse, build verse code, push verse changes. All right, here we go. Moment of truth. Moment of truth here. Dude, pink ladies are so good. It's like they inject them with sugar. There she is. Okay, so there's my little robot pet. Just follow me. Nothing special. You notice how it's got a slight delay, but it looks smooth. That works really well for a pet, right? It kind of follows you around. It's okay for it to be a little bit slow. So, but I feel confident that if I had 15 players in here, they would all get their own pet, and it would all just magically work. When they leave the servers, these would all disappear. I've done this a lot of times now. So, really cool stuff here. Okay, so that was the code and the project here. This is kind of a short stream. I'm not going to go for like 3 hours like typical gamer does, but now is the time for you to ask any questions about anything. We covered simple multiplayer lifecycle. I will put this code up. This code could change your life. It's simple and straightforward. I do have some more elegant things under the hood in my other code, but this is enough to get you started. So what questions do you have about code, about life, about anything? We'll spend the next 15 minutes or so answering questions so nobody else has any questions, okay? So, do the pets have sequences? No. Well, yes. Not level sequences. So, when I'm typically working with pets, I do a blueprint class, like so, okay? And then, what I do is I add a skeletal mesh, like so. And then, this is an FBX I imported, okay? And there it is. Okay, so there's the animation that came with the FBX. Andre, I know you asked this earlier. Why is the custom character not working on your last video? I don't know what you mean specifically. You're gonna have to be more specific on that. So that's how I add these here. If I have another class, a UI class, for example, and I want to get data from the custom player class, what is the best approach to do that? So, D4G. I do this all the time, all right? And the best solution I have found, just using common programming design patterns, is looking at the wrong place. The best thing I found is I let my players manage their own UI. So I might have a player UI class, or just in my regular custom player class. Okay, here in the custom player, I would probably have a custom UI class. Right, let me step back here. I create a custom UI class designed for a single player. What I've seen other people do is create this giant user interface class that does everything for all players. No. So for instance, if I have let's just say I don't know, a health bar for a player, even though we already have one, just for an example. All right. And what I would do is I would create a custom UI class called player health bar, and it manages showing the bar, removing the bar, and all that, but for a specific player. And then so what I would do is in my custom player class, I would probably pass it in from a parent, and I would probably say like, I would say custom player UI, and this would be my unique class called, so we'll just call this health bar UI. And then I would pass it in from the parent class. And then what's cool is I would probably have functions in this class. So like, let's say, just for fun, like on receive, I had a function here called on received damage. Okay. And let's say I'm calling this from the parent class. So this would be like incoming damage, right, of type float. And so what I might do is whenever on received damage is called, I might actually say custom player UI dot update health bar with or update health bar with new HP. Oh my gosh. And then what I would do here is I would take my current player HP, which I'm not storing here, but I would say current HP minus incoming. And then my custom UI, so user interface is supposed to be dumb, okay? That's common programming practice. User interface is supposed to be dumb. It's your view. It receives data and it does stuff. Like, I would never do calculations in a UI class. This is player data. You don't do that in user interface. You do it where it's supposed to happen. So I do the calculation here, and the only thing the user interface needs is the new data, okay? And here in my init function, I would probably do something like this. I'd probably say custom player UI dot init, and I would probably need to pass in the player asset that's up here, because you got to get the widget and you got to show it and all that kind of stuff. So this is how I build all of my UI for my players. The player class manages the UI. The UI is built in a way just for the player. I do not have one game manager that's adding and removing UI from all the players at all times. That's a nightmare. There's bugs. Player UI should be dumb. Your calculations happen elsewhere, and you just pass in the data. Okay? That's how you do it. That's the good way to do it. Everything I teach and know is from object-oriented programming, a little bit of functional programming. I didn't make this stuff up. These are common design patterns. If you're somebody who wants to learn to code and get better with this stuff and know these types of things, look up programming design patterns, okay? Factory pattern, observer pattern, things like that. Important stuff. Okay, so let me look at some other questions here. Oh wow, this really went here. Custom characters, yeah. Is it possible to trigger cinematic sequence for a specific pet spawned? Yeah, so you can, your cinematic sequences, your level sequences, you can actually make it not networked, so it only applies for the particular player. So for instance, if I have where is it here? There we go. If I drag in a cinematic sequence device, okay, let me scroll up here. A couple of things, all right? Visibility, everyone or instigator only. If it's instigator only, it's only going to show for that player, okay? Which is really cool. And then level sequence actor always relevant. Flag specifying whether the device should always be relevant for networking. When disabled, the player's playback will only replicate to clients when it is relevant based on proximity. So this one has to do with how close you are to it. So if you did instigator only and made it relevant to everyone, that means at any distance, this would still work. But if you only want it to happen when you're close, then you would turn that off. Okay, so that's how you do that there. All right, what else we got here? What else we got? Thank you a lot for everything. New Benda, no, thank you. How has the project been going? Line Unchained. I'm doing 3 projects right now. Big projects. I can't talk about them right now, but they are games that you have played and seen. And I'm very busy. I was gonna cancel this stream, but I couldn't do it. I'm low on sleep, but I couldn't do it. I even shaved for you guys, just so you know. All right, gaming using a timer based on when you start moving that triggers. Does this mark more regular return to tutorials? Or are they still going to be sparse? I'd like to do more live streams and contribute more. I do not have time to make dedicated videos. Also, the videos I want to make are for people who are coding and who want to get careers. I don't want to make videos about here's how to build this game, because then everyone goes and builds that game. And, you know, I spent like 16 years programming, and, you know, you got programmers, you got game designers, you got teams. I would prefer to help you guys build your teams and build your skills, but not give out freebies, if that makes any sense. So you won't be seeing me making those crazy epic tutorials, you know, how to build this or how to build that. But you will see me doing probably more of this and interacting here. And so I'm not in it for the views. I'm in it for you. And I'm hiring verse developers, hiring level designers, hiring creators, hiring VFX artists, like hiring a lot of people. So if you're somebody who's got skills, we are hiring. You can send me a link with what your work and what you're doing. I'm constantly interviewing people. Announcements will come out soon about what's going on, what we're doing. But anything? Okay. Yeah. How do you know how to manipulate strings, like shift the character code? I really don't know how to answer that right now. Thank you so much, Lion. Appreciate it. Thank you, Raphael. You guys are awesome. Super awesome. Okay. I'm always running into issues because of my lack of understanding of code logic. Yep, it just experience. Program study, yeah. So I can't stress enough. If you learn object-oriented programming and programming design patterns, you will have a lot of success with Verse, far ahead of anyone else who's just fiddling with it. Okay, because we have this interesting situation where a lot of amazing people came from 1.0, but they have no programming experience. Yet the programming world doesn't know about UEFN, and so no one's moving over. And so there's this small little window you have to become an expert at Verse and become a programmer. But you won't get ahead in Verse if you don't learn programming principles, okay? So if you want to work for a team, and 2 years from now when this is huge, okay, like Roblox is, right? You're going to want these skills. Learn those core programming skills. Did you find any solution for the stretch resolution thing? Oh, you were messaging me about FOV. I don't know. I mean, I know how I do FOV with cameras and stuff, and then there's the camera shake source where you can hack that, but I don't know. When you paste code, I believe hitting undo once will fix the indentation. Oh, I'll have to try that. It's super annoying. Is cinematic sequence device the only way to run things for Instigator only? There are a few other devices that do that. Like the collectible coin has some stuff where you can make it appear for only users X amount of times. But you don't have a lot of options with that. Most of that's built in. You're a legend. All right. Once we're good at UEFN, can we apply to game dev jobs, or is there still a massive gap? Look, if you master UEFN, I mean, no one's going to hire you to go work on a AAA game somewhere else, like Unreal Engine, because that's C++, that's blueprints. Yes, Tim Sweeney said he wants to bring Verse to the entire ecosystem. It's going to take a while. If you're learning UEFN, that is going to give you skills, but you're here for this. This is, it's not going to really move across the board unless you become really good at programming and learn other languages too. Okay. I replied in Discord in code questions. Yeah, I'm really behind on my code questions. I'm sorry. Let's use your current project as an example. If there are 2 players with pets, is it possible to play a cinematic sequence for a single pet? Both players should see only a single pet playing the sequence. Is it possible to play a cinematic sequence for a single pet? By the way, I will get through all the questions even if we go over here. Play a cinematic sequence for a single pet. Both players should only see a single pet. Okay, so what I was showing you here, what you can do is your visibility. Okay, put those two people on a team. So if you've got 3 people who need to see their person's pet, but not other people, like showing the team will show the one pet for both those players. So you got the instigator's team, or everyone. Those are your options right there, and I'm sure you can swing it with those options. Yeah. Okay. What is the purpose of using verse? I do not really understand what you can do with it, Joshua. I mean, verse allows you to do. So let me put it this way: the programmers at Epic Games who created Fortnite Creative 1.0, whatever tools they give you, that's what you're stuck with. Okay, if they say you can drag this in, move it here, that's all you get. Okay, so it's like kind of like 1.0 is kind of like, you know, those like Fisher Price like tool sets. You get your little kid the colorful hammer and you hit it, it goes, you know, like Fortnite 1.0 is kind of like that. You got like some fun little tools, you have some fun with it. UEFN and Verse is like having a manly, like, you know, a manly rugged, where's my hat here? You know, okay, this is UEFN, like manly rugged set of tools, like a workbench with a saw, you know, like stay away from my bench because I can build anything, all right? So hammers, nails, screws, like everything. So Verse allows you to do almost anything that you want. There's still limitations, but you can do so many things that you couldn't do before. And I'm just kidding, 1.0 people. I was just no hate on you. Okay, so join in progress player spawning. Yes, that can be a very big pain. In fact, when my very first lesson I taught on gun game, everyone gets tripped out because they're not managing the multiplayer, and I didn't really go over it back then. So, does UEFN allow I18N translations? So they do have localization stuff in their code, but I haven't seen any documentation on how to implement that, so I don't know. Is it possible to get the character code in Verse? Character code. I don't know what you mean. I came from Unreal. I just don't have time to reinvent the wheel. That's me too, David. That's why I'm here. I was building a multiplayer game. I was building this really cool game where you play teddy bears, but they're like super morbid, where you shoot the other teddy bears and their heads explode with fluff and rainbow guts and stuff. And it was like a multiplayer experience. And I built it all in Unreal Engine, and the networking was so hard. And I did some C++ and blueprints, and I had to reinvent moving and had to reinvent networking. And you get that all for free in UEFN. You don't have all you have to do is focus on your gameplay, which is really awesome. How much you hate like singletons? So I haven't used it yet. And by the way, good to see you. Man, I wish you had an easier name to pronounce it. Camwiker. I'll just call you Cam. So I haven't played with it yet, but I already know how I'm going to use it. So the notification pattern that you see in iOS and in C#, I'll be implementing that using the week map. Basically, I'll be creating sessions where anybody can just register for notifications, right? Anywhere at all. So I don't have to link classes together. I don't have to link devices, right? Anyone who just wants to, like for instance, on player died or on player left server, on player entered server, instead of having all those listeners, I just implement it at one place and then people subscribe to it and they can listen for it. I can do the same thing with observables. So I'll be implementing that very soon in the games I'm working on, where so I don't have to be passing in editables to all these different devices at all times. It's a huge pain. But I won't be using it for cheating. I won't be doing nasty things with it to be lazy, where you just store stuff publicly because you can't figure out how to get data to one class. That's what a lot of new people do. I can't figure this out. I'm just going to put it in a global variable. And that's probably why they can be very dangerous and lots of bugs. But yeah. Okay. Have you messed with the real max amount of props you spawn in game? So I have spawned... Donnie, I've spawned 25,000 props. And if you turn on world streaming and you set your grid sizes appropriately, you could probably spawn even more. I mean, I don't know what the limit is, but you can do it. Been using ChatGPT to translate C++ to verse. I do that sometimes for complex game math. How often do they update the tool set? Not nearly enough. So UEFN only updates at the exact same time that Fortnite updates. They're like on the same build system. So let me just say Fortnite gets a lot cooler things than we get in UEFN. And I've been underwhelmed with the amount of updates I've seen in the last, 4 or 5 months since it's been going. With a team of hundreds of people, and I had hoped to see bigger, better features, or even like simple things like having data that saves, right? Like I mean, I don't want to say simple. They're probably making an epic developer cringe right now. I'm gonna get a message later. Hey, I really appreciate it if you didn't call our work simple. That happens sometimes. So no offense. Yeah, I don't use join in progress. I use spawn events for everything. Verse is there to hold us back while the only up clones dominate. You know, I can't hate on anybody, really. Like, it's a time to build. I was here when this happened with the App Store, 2010. We were all building games, all doing stuff. Some people made it, some people didn't. Like, it's a fun, wild ride. It'll balance out over time, though. That's a nice hat. Yeah, I actually have the coat. I'll show you the coat. I have the coat from what's that game called? The Last of Us. Yeah. This is the jacket that he wears in the show, the TV show. Yeah, I paid like $400 for this. All right. Yeah, cowboy hats on. Things are getting serious. Oh, thanks so much for the donations, everyone, too. I really, really appreciate it. I'm getting to the bottom here, so if I missed your name, I'm sorry. I'll shout you out in just a second. Hiring people. As a recent graduate from game development, I'm currently seeking to apply. Yeah, well, you can DM me on Twitter. Send me your work. Send me what you're doing. And then I can see if we can chat. Just send me what you're doing. Tell me about yourself. Twitter's the easiest. I can do Discord too, but I get so many messages, it's hard to keep up. Until Fortnite fixes the discovery page, there isn't any point putting all this work. It just depends on your perspective. Like for me, I'm investing in this. Like I believe in Fortnite. I believe in the platform. I believe in Tim Sweeney's vision for it all. So for me, it's an investment of time. I'm not necessarily looking for any quick wins. Hey, Haley, welcome. Yeah, typical gamers got some sick games. How would be reverse the code to go back to? I don't know what you're saying. Have you taken a look at how the new guard UI leash code works? I have read the tutorial a few times over, and I don't understand their wording there. I haven't actually played with it yet because I don't want the stupid guards. I want the AI, I want the logic, and I did try to implement my own stuff with theirs, but they require an agent, and you can't create your own agent. So it's pointless for me because I don't care about the stupid guards. I want the AI pathfinding, though. I want the leash system. I want the nodes. So we've actually built an entire AI node system where in-house, where characters or things follow a path. They can think, they can find the nearest player, they can turn and hit a player. Built all that stuff from scratch. And if you want to see really cool stuff like that, you should follow Cam Weicker on Twitter and some other people too. Welcome from Nepal. Cosplay stream, that's right. This is The Last of Us. World streaming is bomb. Yeah, so world streaming is key if you want lots of assets in your games. I recently shipped a game that has like over 3,500 unique assets, all custom, high poly, normal maps, everything, because of streaming. So congrats and thanks for all your tutorials. No problem. Epic's too busy counting money. I don't know. They're giving out money, it seems like. Better to create while you wait. Hi, Sam Bursko. Good to see you. Import ChatGPT into Fortnite. So I will say I'm working with somebody right now who's helping me implement open AI models for ChatGPT. which I hope to implement in my Discord server so people can actually use Verse with ChatGPT. I'm actually working on that. So a good map could take months to create. So even, okay, yeah. Okay. How can I take a look at applying for your company? DM me on Twitter. Walbeck Warforge or WB Warforge, just something like that. I don't know. Find me on Twitter. Send me a DM. Show me your work though. Like I get lots of messages now, and I don't take the phone calls unless you send me your work. So if you don't have anything, you got to build something. Yeah. Can your code share track velocity, speed, and direction, and kill eliminations? So, yes, kill eliminations. I actually did write code to track player velocity. It's a little bit hard to track player direction right now. I spent like an entire 12 hours trying to build my own custom input system. But because the strafing doesn't really have a point of reference, it's hard to get your exact direction besides front and backwards. But velocity, I actually do have code to track velocity of something. And I even did a prototype for Angry Birds where you do predictive velocity tracking with the, what is it? Is it calculus, trigonometry? A forward trajectory over an arc and path with acceleration. And I actually got little dots to appear. The only problem is there's no physics, right? So when the bird hits the wall, all I can really do is like detonate an explosive barrel. So it's kind of stupid. So I got the math ready for it, but UEFN doesn't really have the tools to let me build a cool game like that. Yeah. Okay. My bad. I mean, reversing the custom character back to initial position so the move to tracking breaks. You can do that. Can you just hide the agent and parent your own animating prop to the agent or move to the prop towards? So you're talking about the AI pathfinding. So I've done some tests trying to encode fine agents, and it's very difficult. Like I have not been able to successfully I don't know. Like I can grab the agent. I don't know. It's hard. I've tried different things. It's really hard. What's Twitter? Do you mean X? Oh, sorry. Yeah. How much money can we earn from Fortnite Creator Map 2.0? It's a lot. Look it up online. Physics API. I don't know. Fortnite's never had physics, man. Like Fortnite's never had it. Like you can barely notice how you can barely move on anything in Fortnite. It's like, and even like the things they do with physics, like the balls are bugged out. So did you ever finish that custom physics code for the Pokeballs? So yeah, this goes along the same lines with the Angry Birds thing. I did. You throw an object. I even got a first person camera. You throw an object and then it goes and it like lands. So it can detect the trajectory based on the height of the ground, right? So long as your ground is flat, you've got a point of reference. You can throw the ball, know when to stop it, and then play an animation. I did all that, but that's not a game, right? It's just a feature. So I built a lot of things like that, but they don't really go anywhere because, I mean, there's nothing fun about it. So kind of specific, but when using custom camera, it crashes when a parallel cinematics, it crashes when a parallel cinematic stops while the camera is still active. Have you experienced and know something about a workaround fix? So, Clabido, sorry, I had a joke I was going to make, but then I realized it was rude. So, I have implemented custom cameras. You may have seen my RPG cameras, things like that. If you implement a custom camera, that's supposed to run all the time for a player, and then another cinematic plays, more often than not, it breaks that camera. And so what I do is when I have a custom camera, right, when I'm about to play a cinematic that player needs to see, before it happens, it has to be before, I stop the camera like a millisecond before. I play the cinematic sequence, and when that's done, I start the camera back up again. And that seems to solve all the problems that I had with my custom cameras. I don't know what you're doing, though. How could you loop through all the players to detect when each is jumping and perform something, like a double jump if jumping in the air? That one's super, super easy. Let me grab my code here. I think I have some actually right. I think I have some right here. Let me just open a project real quick. I have to go pretty soon here. Got some things I got to do. Where is it? There it is. Make sure I get all the inappropriate stuff off my screen. I did not test this streaming beforehand, so it was all right. Here we go. This kid, there's nothing inappropriate. I've got this it's like an Animorph class. You ever see that? Ever remember those old books, Animorphs? Like they would change into animals. So I created a kind of a class like that. Flyers, swimmers, runners, and I was testing like flying or being in the water or running, and then we swapped the characters out. And so what you do is you somewhere on here, there it is. So sprinted event, eliminated event. I'm listening for those. I know there's a jumping event, right, or something somewhere. God, I can't remember. So let me find it here. Sprinted event. Come on, it's the broken. Let's go over to my. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? I just wanted the digest. I'm not seeing it. Oh my gosh, I'm going insane. Digest? No digest file? Whatever, I'm tripping out. Anyway, this is how you do it. Like you listen for sprinted event and subscribe on sprinted. My thing's just screwing up here. And then if they are sprinting or not, I do different things. Like for instance, if they're running, I turn them into a dog. You may have seen this on my Twitter feed. I turn them into a dog, or if they're flying, I turn them into a dragon. So you listen for the fort character events, and then you do stuff. Okay? All right. How could you loop through players to detect when each is jump? Yeah, okay. You can bounce a particle on a wall with a Niagara, though. Yeah, Niagara is different. Magic Arcade game kit for a meal, and I fully intend on making the first multiplayer shmup in FNC. Excellent. You get the guard's agent from their spawner. Yeah, so you get the agent, but I mean, you can't really do a whole lot with it. At least you could have something follow its position, you know. It's just really janky. It's I don't want to even touch that stuff because it's just really janky. Just because you can do something in UEFN and it's fun to learn doesn't mean it's going to do anything or you should do it or you know, like you could make a spinning chip and publish it, and someone made it, you know, probably $50,000 from that spinning chip. But you know, make a spinning chip if you want. I don't like building janky things. Yo, what's up, Irma? I'm making a map where the player controls a huge boss. So each attack needs a different cinematic and would be weird to switch the custom camera so often, but thanks for the insight. So I don't know what you're doing specifically, but if I was building a boss fight, whenever a boss comes onto the scene, I would make a cinematic for everyone, force everyone to watch it, you know, and then when that's done, if there is a custom camera you're using for the player, then you just give everyone their cameras back. But I mean, that's what I would do. We cannot spawn device in verse. That's correct. The day we can do that is the day miracles will happen. Raphael, I just want to thank you for everything. 3 weeks ago, I never heard of verse. Now I have my Boss Wars map with 2K people playing. I'm so grateful. You're the best. You're the best. Congrats on getting that many players. That's awesome. Never heard of verse, and you're crushing it. So, example of what you can do with a little bit of learning and time. Awesome. Thank you for the donation. Tell us more about the other projects you're doing. I can't talk about them right now, but I will soon. About the double jump, it looks like the code you showed us for single player, though. Does that work for multiplayer? It works for everything, Dev Nahara. If you didn't watch this video already, Dev, you're going to have to go back and watch it where I explain how to manage multiplayer, okay? Because I show you how to do that in this video that we just did today, and then you just listen for those events. I want to add a custom health bar, like the one I did with bosses. Is that possible? Yeah. I mean, you know I have that code out there, right? It's on my YouTube video. You can literally download a copy. In fact, I've seen 5 different maps that copied and pasted that exact same code. But anyway, it's right there. You're the coolest. Well, thank you, Andrea. At least I think so. My kids don't. I made $371 for a pretty good map. It's hard to get plays. Hey, it's hard. Keep going. 200K plays on Boom. I see. That's like 6. Okay, I like your hat. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I got to wrap it up here. Okay. If there's one more question, I'll take one more question. I got to go. I got lots of stuff to build today. I just really wanted to get this out here for you. Code will come later on this stream. Don't expect it now. Don't expect it in an hour. Probably expect it tomorrow. But I will post the code for this on here. So I'll probably do more of these. Come with questions, come with things that you need help with. I'm literally writing code, building every single day, all day long. So if you ever experience a stutter in the prop blueprint, when stopping one animation and starting the other, it's never 100% smooth. Of course, it's not going to be smooth because this is not the way that you build games, right? We have limited features. When Epic Games releases like blend spaces for animations where animations can blend together, we won't even need to be spawning different props and things like that for the blueprint. So it is going to stutter because it's pointless right now. It's just not pointless. It's janky. We're hacking it. So the way I got around the no device spawning is I create pools of devices and move them in and out. Yep, that's what I do too. ETA and the projects, any ETA and the projects you're working on, some of them are already out. You guys have all played them. I just can't talk about them. And there's some really big ones on the roadmap. There'll be some announcements soon, but I just can't talk about it right now. You also have a cowboy boots. So I don't like them. I tried them, but I don't like them. They're not comfortable. I don't know how anyone wears them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. This stream will be available. It's saved after it ends. I'm going to go, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone here. Thank you, everyone who donated. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you, Lion Unchained. Raphael again. Thank you, AC, David, Khalid, Wolfpack, CJ Hannah. You're awesome, awesome, awesome. I really appreciate it. I'll probably do more of these, a lot more of these than I'll do of like the dedicated huge videos. And also, just so you know, one last tip: if you send me questions in Discord or Twitter about programming, but they're like design questions, not like I need help. If they're I need help questions, I probably won't answer them. But if they're questions like, hey, what do you think about my code, or is there a better way to do this, I will answer those. I have to filter out my messages, and I can't do absolute beginner questions. I'm sorry, but I will answer questions if they're thought provoking. So thank you, everyone, and we will talk again soon, I am sure.